What's up, guys? So here I'm going to show you how to bake some animation, and we're going to send it into Unity, and we're going to talk about separating the animation a bit and how this works. So I have a little animation here. I have a controller with a parent constraint on the bone, and whenever you're rigging, you've seen on some of my rigging videos I did hard parenting. A lot of times you want to use parent constraint because unless your rig is perfect, hard parenting could be okay, but if you make a mistake, it's hard to retrace your steps. So parent constraint, for the most part, is one of the better ways to do things. So we have a animation here we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake it. So to do that, and we have a little simple one, just a sphere and a bone. But the one thing you want to do when you bake your animation, you want to grab the root. In this case, he's the only guy here, so he is the root. But you always want to go to your select by hierarchy. Now when you select by hierarchy, this allows you to actually grab the whole object and everything that's underneath this parent, because the root is the main guy, and what we want to do is be able to grab it and everything that's underneath it if it was a complete rig. Now this is just a bone and geometry, so it's not a complete rig, but you want to be able to do that. And if you have your arms separate, not connected to any of the bones, you have to shift select them and then also select this select hierarchy. So you want to select hierarchy all the bones in the chain, even if they're parent constraint underneath each other. You want to make sure you grab everything in succession, because it's not going to automatically grab a bone with a parent constraint dependency between them. I just want to make that point. So you're going to select hierarchy, and he doesn't really have a hierarchy, but we're going to pretend he does. Select hierarchy there. And then if I want to, I can shift select the controller and the geo. For the most part, it's just the geo and the bone we want to worry about. But if you want to keep things intact, like you need to edit the animation later on, you can grab the controller and just remove the bake keys if you want to. Just make sure you name the bake file being a bake file, and you name the original file as a original file. It is kind of hard to edit things when you bake, but if you wanted to, you can do that. So with that here, we're now going to bake this. So to be able to bake this, I'm going to go to keys and bake simulation and can pull this up. And it's pretty straightforward here. The default should be fine when working with this. And we're going to bake it. And you're going to see every single key baked in here. It's all laid out. But what we need to export is this guy and the joint. So again, we can go in here and select the joint. And again, we're going to do select hierarchy again. He doesn't really have one, but pretend he does. And then if he had arms that were sticking out and the bones are separate, I'd grab those roots or parents, and then I'll do select hierarchy, doing a shift select when I do it. Grab the geo, and I'm just going to export this guy. Now FBX doesn't recognize controllers. Even though it has constraints in its dependency options, it's not going to recognize your controllers. So before I do anything, I'm going to save this guy as baked. I'll put this in my, let me see, desktop, Sean stuff, and we'll go into lectures. Where's my lectures at? There we go. And we'll call this bake simulation. There we go. Continue. And then now I'm going to export it. Now the way I'm going to export it, let's go in here and export selection. I'm going to do FBX. You can do a Maya scene because it is Unity, but we're going to do FBX because it's just a little bit smarter and sometimes a little bit cleaner. If you don't delete your history or keep things organized like you should, you could run into a little bit of trouble. So we'll call this bake export, and we'll put underscore orb. Notice I'm keeping things pretty clean in my naming. You always want to make sure you have a prefix that goes along with everything, or also a suffix, either one or the other, but for the most part, you should always have a prefix. Hit save. That's just wise. I shouldn't say one or the other. You should always have a prefix. Alright, so we got binary. Now sometimes when you choose ASCII when you export, it can crash sometimes. I don't know why, but we'll choose binary in ours. Also, you want to turn on smoothing groups whenever you export with FBX. Now there are some tutorials on the internets that tell you to use embedded media. You don't have to do that, actually. Those are old tutorials. Constraints if you want to. So if you have bones with constraints on it, this will read it and try to give you the best possible output. This doesn't always work as smoothly as you'd like, and you'll see FBX sometimes giving error. And I think we're good to go. So let's go to export. There you go. Export it out. Let's go and open up Unity. Dun, dun, dun. I think I have the latest Unity, hopefully. Unity. Open up Jerkface. Yes, it is the latest one. Has little race cars, space stuff, and some polygons. It's good news. Unity 4 should be coming out soon. That would be great, because it looks like it's, or Unity 5 looks like it's going to be awesome. Super graphics. Going to support 64-bit. Finally! Which would be good for everyone in the dev world. Finally gets on the bandwagon of not sucking. Well, in the graphics department. Alright, otherwise it's a great tool. So we're going to go in here now, we're going to import this guy. Now, import this guy, what we're going to do is bring it in as an asset. Now, you can do a straight open, but again, you don't want to do that. Unless, even if it's a Maya file, you just want to be careful with it. Unity will read Maya files, but having baked options are actually kind of nice, because when you have a baked option, this allows you to actually isolate areas, and it reads a little bit cleaner. It isn't just a straight scene, because Unity will read your Maya scene, will completely read it for what it is, and so you just got to keep that in mind. Alright, so we're going to go to component here. Let's see here. Dun-dun-dun. And having a senior moment here real quick. There we go, assets. So we want to import a new asset. Bam! So let's go into here, import an asset. We're going to grab Mr. Orb of Death. Orb of Death. Let's grab him. I know, that's the most cheeriest Orb of Death song ever. Sounds like he has his own 80s show. Starring William Shatner. Orb of Death. Guest starring Triangles. I got nothing. Alright, so we'll go to lectures here. Let me open this up a little bit. Lectures, where are you? Lectures. There you are, lectures. Alright, so we got it here. I know, you had to endure my song. It was weird. Bake, orbit, export, orbit, import. There we go. Pull him into the scene. So we got him in the scene. I can go in here and I will bring him in. He's so tiny. I didn't scale him up. And remember, these guys are built off of centimeters, so if you suspect it's going to be tiny, you do want to try to fix that. You can see a little bit of our options here. I'm going to move this, turn this off just for a second so you don't get confused. So we have a preview here of what's going to happen. So if I play my animation. So we have it imported. So let's go to the animations. You'll notice there's a model tab. There is a rig tab. And there is an animation tab. And that's mainly where we're going to be at. And as you run through the animation, as you play with this, you can see how you can trim things. And you'll see the animation that I did. There it goes, showing the animation. All really cool. But we want to be able to isolate stuff. So 30 frames per second. There's our first second there if we wanted. There's our second. So we're going to do the 30 frames per second. We're going to take it, I guess we'll go to 90. So we'll go to, there we go. We'll go to 90 there. And it puts them back on the ground. And we're going to give this a name. We're going to call this ORB underscore lift. There we go. Tells you where it's at. I'm going to make a new one. Boop, boop. Click on the plus. And we're going to now change the keyframes from 3 to 5. And we'll call this guy here, got to name it down here, ORB underscore, I don't know, side. There we go. And enter. So we got ORB, take lift, and side. So you can categorize and separate your animation really nicely here. It's pretty cool. You can play it. You can go through the whole thing for that particular set. Click on this guy, and you'll see that Unity has categorized it for us. Pretty cool. It shows the lift. And the nice thing about this, your programmer can now, if you name these correctly, tag these and use these in his programming for conditionals based on, the player control or events. But each one of these frames, I just used one whole Maya scene that has all the animations in here. But when I imported it into Unity, I was able to separate it out going into the animation tab. And I can even control some of the little secondary stuff here. We have like a rotation, error. You can go in here and play with your root transformation, your posing. And I have it in the center, so it's okay here. But you got to be careful with baking with pose and root node positioning. You want to make sure you do everything correct the first time on yours. And we can go back to root node position if we want. So you want to make sure it's all done correctly in Maya, and that way you don't really have to mess with this so much. Even though it has some cool options, don't let it fool you. It is not inherently a system you want to animate in, so just, and it's very, very limited. They would need some more pipelines put in here to be able to play with it a little more elaborately, and you get some of that with Pro. But, you know, try to do everything right in your 3D Studio Max and your Maya before you bring it into Unity. And that's pretty much, oops, I'll just say apply. There he is. He's not going to do anything right now. We don't have any conditionals. So that's pretty much how to break that down, how to do that in Unity, importing your animation. That's simple. How to bake it, how to bring it in, and there he is, the little guy. Okay? I also want to make sure, one more point I want to tell you is also make sure your root is at the center of the 0 to 1. So your character, that's why some rigs you'll see the bone go down to the 001. And that's nice because then you can figure out where your character's going to snap to. And you can rig it that way. I have mine there because that's just a good way to do things. So just keep that in mind, that it needs to be here instead of somewhere in Africa, South America, China, or Russia. Alright, that's about it. You guys have a good night. And yeah, I'm done, son.